We are going to be making a flamingo today. In order to make your flamingo, you will need pictures of flamingos, watercolors or liquid watercolors. You will need some Sharpies, a pencil, brushes and water, and then play color, specifically pink, yellow, and additional colors such as red or blue could be used as well. If you feel most comfortable doing this part first with pencil, feel free. But I'm going to move right into the play color sticks. And I have my image of my flamingo, and I'm going to use my play colors to kind of imitate what I'm looking at over here. I'm going to start out with the head of the flamingo, and I kind of make that with an oval that happens to be tipped to its side just a little bit, like that. Then I can add a beak. We're using all pink right now. Down below, I'm going to make a big oval for the body. Now you can choose to have the wings down like what we're looking at here, or you can have the wings kind of flapping up. So you need to make those decisions maybe prior to starting on your flamingo. And I made a tail back here. And now I'm going to do that curve down from the head down to the body. And it's kind of like an S. So I go back and forward. And with our play colors, our play color sticks, we always want to go over it a couple of times before we're done using it. Like I said, you can leave it down like this and have the wing down, or you can have the wings kind of flopping up. That's maybe what I'm going to do. I'm going to have both wings kind of flopping up. We are not going to worry about the legs right now. We'll do those later. Instead, I'm going to use a second color. Now I'm going to put some yellow in here. The yellow gives it a little bit more interest and a little more depth. And you don't have to color it solid in with the yellow, but you want to hit some of the areas that you've done in pink. And then, like I said, additional colors might be used, such as red. And I'm just kind of thinking about those feathers. Maybe I'm thinking about shadow, giving shadow underneath. Maybe a little bit right here. And maybe a little extra on the beak. Now you notice that there's some black too on this beak. We'll deal with that later. Right now we're just dealing with the body, the head, the neck, and we're creating it in at least 2 colors, but possibly more. Once your flamingo is done, you're going to take some water and start painting on top of your piece of paper. And right now, notice I'm just painting the bottom with my water. Now I don't want puddles, but I do want to make the paper wet. I'm going to add some water, liquid watercolor, but you don't need to use liquid watercolor. You can use just regular from the pan watercolor, that's fine. But I'm using some liquid right now, and you can see that it's kind of moving around in the water. This is called wet on wet painting. So we have wet paper and we're adding some wet paint on top of it. You're not only going to do the water, you're also going to do everything around your flamingo as well. That's called the background. Once your flamingo is dried, you can actually paint right over the top. I'm going to recommend that you use light colors, so I'm using yellow right now for the background. We'll be adding more details after this is all dry. This is a flamingo that I have let dry. It's completely dry, and what's great about these play colors is that you can Now you can, once it's 100% dry, you can bring your finger across. It doesn't blend, it doesn't bleed. It is ready to go. And we're going to use our Sharpie marker, and you can use a pencil again first if you feel more comfortable, but I'm going to just jump right into the Sharpie marker to show you how to add the legs and the final details. So we're going to go from the body down to where it's standing in the water. And flamingos have kind of these knobby knees, so you can add a circle somewhere in the middle like that. And then the second leg, I'm going to go backwards and then forwards. So it kind of makes like a mouth. Again, the knee is kind of knobby, so I'm going to give it a little circle right on top of the knee. You can thicken up some of your lines if you so choose. And then watch how I'm going to do the foot. I'm going to make 3 lines and then add a little triangle in between them that I'm going to color in. Doesn't it look like that flamingo is standing right in that water? Now we can think about some of the other details. One detail that I see on many flamingos is a black tip to their beak. Sometimes you see a mouth coming up, and of course you'd have the eye. But now I get to make the jungle scene around my bird. I'm going to need watercolors for this. A thinner brush will be more helpful than the thicker brush, and we're going to need some water, and a paper towel will probably be helpful as well. So the first thing that we're going to do is get our pans, these are called pans, wet. So I'm just putting a little bit of water in each pan, and that's activating my color. That's going to sit for just a minute while I think about where I'm going to put some of my jungle scenes. Now I think I'm going to start with my blue down here, so I mix my brush right into the blue, and I can now do something called dry brush, and that means that I have dry paper and I'm adding the paint right on the dry brush. You're going to notice that this creates more control than when we did the wet on wet. And then I'm going to use some yellow and make a line coming down. And that's a little difficult to see because it's yellow on yellow, but that's why I'm going to use some additional colors. So I'm going to put green in there as well. And at this point, I have the green and the yellow next to each other, so they're blending a little bit right onto the paper. But another way to do that is to mix right over here on your palette. So taking some of this color, rinsing out your brush, getting some more color, and mixing it over here is going to make many different greens. And we'll need that for our jungle scene. So now I'm making another palm-like plant down here. Started with one line in the middle and added some lines on either side. I'm going to switch this up. I'm actually going to use a little bit of a darker green over here on this side, so I mix some blue in there. There's 2 different ideas that you can do. You can add some vines coming from the top and then just simply bring some leaves on either side of the vine, or the palm style. Another style that you might try is just a leaf. So bringing up kind of this oval looking shape. If you want to make it a little bit more creative, put a little bit more of one color on one side. I'm using blue to kind of show a shadow. Maybe some yellow. And then add some green down here. Okay, at some point you're going to decide, yep, that's enough jungle. I'm going to leave it alone. you have two choices. You can leave it just like what we see here, or you can add a little pizzazz. Some people like to add a little bit of pizzazz to their artwork. So I'm going to do that right now, taking some yellow and just kind of giving it almost like there's a party going on in the jungle. So I'm kind of putting confetti around in some of the negative spaces. Negative space just means parts that doesn't have any artwork in it. I might do this with my yellow all over, and maybe even I'm going to add a little second color. So I totally have a party going on. It's up to you where you want to take this, if you want to leave it more traditional like this side, or if you want to bring in a little bit of pizzazz, adding some confetti. And there you have it, the final flamingo.